How you doing, guys, and welcome back to Invested Intelligence. Are you in an investment that you FOMO'd into, you hyped into, and now you're currently down 80, 90, 95% on your investment? You're not really sure what to do with this. You're kind of looking at your investment and you're having to go through this gut-wrenching feeling of, I've made a massive mistake. I really need to get my money back. And now you're panicking because you're not really sure how to engage with the market. And you're trying to force what you want to happen on the market to happen, as opposed to taking a step back, accepting that loss so you can start to look at the market subjectively and make more informed decisions going forward. My name's Andreas, and in this video today, I want to go through some of the psychological impact that having a position like that still on can have on investors, and how we can potentially mitigate some of these problems so we can start to look at the markets for what they really are. So if you're an investor and you've invested in a project maybe a couple of years ago, especially in the cryptocurrency market, and now you're currently sitting on a loss, how do you get around this problem? Well, first of all, you have to accept that you're basically losing money and there's nothing you can do about it. Give control up of what you think you can control in the markets. You've got to let it go, and you've effectively got to say, look, I'm down on my investment. There's nothing I can do about it right now, but what I can do is I can start to look around me, look at my resources. What do I have left? How can I start to approach the market in a more logical and objective way, so I can look at the information and say, how do I move forward with this? Ultimately, when you're in a position, especially an emotional one like this, you can make really rash and silly mistakes, especially when it comes to money. So ultimately, if you're down on your investment, take a look at your investment. Do you still believe in that investment? Is it worth holding? Is it worth adding to? Is it worth just closing out the position and using that small amount of money that's left to potentially do something else with? There's so many options and a myriad of different opinions on what to do, especially when you're in a situation like this. But for me personally, cutting it dead and just saying, look, I need to make a choice here. I'm down on my investment. I made a mistake. There's nothing I can do about it. So should I just close this position, take that money and just go and put it into something else that I think is probably going to start moving? And if not, what do I do with that money? Ultimately, sometimes we end up in a situation where we just say to ourselves, you know what, there's nothing I can do. I've got no control, so I may as well just leave it. And if it goes back to all-time high, great. If it doesn't, then it is what it is. But sometimes you can still do something with whatever remains of the money that you are invested with, right? So we'll use some basic figures. Let's say you invest 10 grand into something, or you invested 10 grand into something a couple of years ago before this recent sort of downturn, especially throughout the entirety of last year. The markets have basically just been going down. So you've invested your 10,000 and now your 10,000 is basically, say, 2,000, right? So you're sitting on $2,000 and you're saying, okay, look, I don't really want to add to my position because I'm scared, I'm afraid. I don't know if this is going to continue. Are the markets going to continue going down? Is that 2,000 basically going to become, sort of zero? So I'm not going to be adding to my position. So what do I do with this? Do I accept it and just say, that's fine, I'm just going to leave it? I'm going to reason that no matter what happens now going forward, I've lost that money. And if maybe in a couple of years' time that money goes back to, something meaningful, then fantastic. Or are you going to look at that money and you're going to say, right, I've got $2,000. What can I do with that $2,000? If I don't believe in the project or the company or the stock or the crypto or whatever it is that you're invested in, I'm going to leave that position. I'm going to close it. I'm going to use that 2,000. I'm going to start to look around and I'm going to try to ascertain whether there's something more meaningful, something that I believe in, especially during a downturn, because let's be frank, when the markets are going down, you're in a much better position to be able to capitalize with a smaller amount of money into something that could potentially make you a much larger amount of money over a longer period of time. Now is not necessarily the right time to be investing, in my opinion, but I also believe that in downturns, you can find some real gems within any sort of global market asset class. It really doesn't matter. And I'll just quickly say as a side note, if you're looking at potentially investing into something, keep an eye on commodities, because I genuinely believe there is going to be a huge demand on commodities as we go through this economic downturn, which seems to be continuing. So going back to the topic of today's conversation, take that 2,000, for example. Look around you, and I don't know what your figures are, but whatever that figure is for you, look around you and start to do some logical analysis of what's available, whether it's crypto, whether it's the stock market, commodities, bonds, it really doesn't matter, and see whether or not it makes more sense for you to make that shift from I'm stuck, I don't know what to do, not really sure what I should be doing with this investment, to a more clarity and more educated thinking approach, where you're looking at that remaining fund, or you're looking at the remaining funds and you're saying, right, I'm going to start to give myself some options, and I'm going to see whether or not any of these options make more sense than just sitting on an investment and just letting it either ride down to zero or potentially going back up over a multi-year bull run, which may or may not happen for another couple of years. We may very well be in this downturn for quite some time. So I'm hoping through this video I've given some insights into potentially looking at your investments with a more objective eye, and then potentially using that objective thinking to go into looking at another investment, looking at something else that you could potentially be doing, or effectively just leaving it. So I hope the video finds everybody well. I hope everyone's having a fantastic day or evening wherever you are in the world, and I look forward to speaking to you very, very soon. All the best. Take care. Ciao for now.